These thoughts up in my head, things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Head, and as always, journey with me as we pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. Here we are back again, another episode. Thank y'all so much for supporting, watching the videos, liking, subscribing. Shout out to all the new followers over on TikTok. Shout out to the new followers at Instagram and anybody that has taken the time to come past the page. Thank you guys so much. It's good to know that the message is getting out there, and I'm hoping that it's helping you as you go throughout your weeks. If something I can give you can help influence and motivate you, then I'm all for it. So with that being said, I want to just, like I said, thanks again. If you're new here, just remember that we try to pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. There's a lot that's going on around us, a lot of things that can make us overwhelmed, can make us anxious, can make us worry. We try to take those things, build them into strengths, and carry ourselves through everyday lives, knowing that we can achieve great things despite everything that's happening around us. So we try to stay motivated, do the best that we can with what we have in life, and hey, we take it one day at a time. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything cool. That my son's got a lot of sports stuff coming up this week. So if you guys are the praying type, just pray that he just stays healthy, remain free from any injuries. Just pray for his team. Just pray for a good outcome. Soccer and football are the main topics this weekend. So we are, full support of what he's doing. He is very excited about it, and we're just gonna keep going. And basketball starts up, so we're staying busy, and that's okay. Yeah, we'll take it one day at a time. That's all we got with that. Anywho, if you are a fan of the podcast, or if you're trying to figure out who we are, what we're about, if you're new and you're trying to figure out all the new things of what we do, we stream. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and we also do our visuals over on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at the Overthinking Thoughts Podcast. On streaming platforms, Overthinking Thoughts Podcast as well. And then if you want to follow us over on the socials, we are on Instagram at Overthinking Thoughts Pod, and also at TikTok at Overthinking Thoughts Pod. Like, subscribe. If you go to the YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. If you're on TikTok or Instagram, like, comment, share if you feel inclined to do so. It's greatly appreciated. So once again, thank you. This episode, I think I want to focus on our health, our mental health. Let's face it, there's a lot that's happening right now just in the world. We know it's happening overseas. There's also stuff that is happening in our own neighborhoods. I'm looking back at things that are happening at home. This young woman was shot and killed up in Cleveland, and the churches rally around to figure out details. And I know they were doing press conferences and things, so we definitely pray for their family. I also saw somewhere where it was two young brothers that were shot and killed. I'm not really sure of the details around that, but that's happened. Different things that are happening every single day. People are struggling mentally. A lot of us are going through things, and outside of all the things that are happening in the world, there are a lot of us that are dealing with internal battles that we don't put out to the world. You see a lot of smiles, but there are a lot of people who are crying inside. I saw this really cool. It wasn't cool. It was sad, but it really shows you the magnitude of mental health. And so I'm sure you've probably seen it on TikTok or Instagram. There's this reel that's going around where there's these two guys. They're at like a soccer game. One's an older. They're both like older guys, and the one guy looks visibly depressed. The other guy comes down. He's super excited. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going? And how are things?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, we're making it." And there's about 6 or 7 games that happen, and the really energetic guy, he's like all for it. He's checking in, like, "Hey, you doing okay?" And the other guy's like, "Yeah, So like every time they do this video, there's one guy that looks overly depressed, and then there's the other guy that looks really, really excited, right? So the last the last shot is that you see the depressed, or who you thought was the depressed guy, come down, and he sits in a seat and he looks over to the seat next to him and it's empty, because it's implied that his friend, the overly energetic, super excited guy that seemed happy about life, was dealing with mental health battles. And a lot of people are fighting through those things. What I want us to remember is that you never know what a person is dealing with mentally. You have no idea what they're facing. Some people are fighting battles that they feel like they can't win. Some people are facing demons that they're trying to slay. Some people are dealing with certain situations that they never thought that they would be a part of. And each day they're trying to maneuver through this crazy thing we call life. A lot of them are putting smiles on their faces and trying to make it through, but deep down inside they may be hurting. So tread lightly and be careful with how you treat people, because you never know what a person might be facing. And you just don't know that you being mean or ignoring or whatever the case may be could be the very thing that breaks them. Not saying that it's fully you, but what I am saying is, like, just remember that people are every day trying to conquer things that have made them feel like they've been defeated or unseen for a very long time. It's up to you to try to bring value in any way that you can to a person's life that may be struggling. And I know it's difficult that when you're trying to figure out, like, why people are struggling or why people are going through certain things, but for a long time, a lot of people, including myself, we kind of suppress what we feel. There's this negative connotation of, I don't want to put my feelings out there because I don't want other people to feel bad for me, or what I'm going through is not as bad as, say, what somebody else is going through. And you're carrying that like a book bag that's overstuffed, and you're just walking around with it. When you first do it, it's heavy, but you're like, I can make it. But the further you go, you start to feel weary, you start to feel burdened. And if you don't take the time to deal with those things, all it's going to do is wear you down and burn you out. And a lot of people see that in a negative way, because we're in a society that tells you got to keep going, you got to keep moving, you got to do this, you got to do that. You don't have time to stay still. You have to do all these things. The world wants you to rush. But then break down why. Like, what are you rushing to? Because there's a lot of people that are rushing, try to get to the end, and they can't even enjoy it because they burn out, health issues, mental health problems. Some people don't make it to even see it because they just been running, not taking care of their true health. So it's like, what's the messaging behind that? I get working toward a goal and not procrastinating. That's one thing. But this whole thing of like trying to burn yourself out, like it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. Even the people that tell you like, I grind, I don't sleep, I don't do this, do that. They always angry. You ever notice that when they talk to you? I don't never sleep. I'm making money. I'm this, that, and that. Well, but you don't seem happy. Like, have you taken the time to really analyze yourself and what you need? And is that a void for something else? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you doing all of this because there's something inside of you that you're trying to, like, that you miss or that you are missing? Like, that could be something. And that's why it's important to analyze ourselves. And we're going to say something now that's a little controversial, that some people don't think is a good thing, especially for men. When you have this emotion, regardless of what you're facing, man, sometimes you got to cry it out, man. I know that's not like, I know it's not popular, but there is, what is his name? I see his face too. I think his name is Jason Wilson. I gotta look it up because I really want to give this man his credit. Hold on. I'm looking it up. Yep. I was right. So sorry about that. So there's Jason Wilson, and he has a book called Cry Like a Man. Now, you see this guy, if you were to go to his Instagram, his handle is Mr. Jason Wilson. dude is like, he's strong, man. He does like, I know he does some type of martial arts. I don't know exactly what it is, so I don't want to mess that up. But he talks a lot about like emotional incarceration, where like you're holding on to things that you should let go, that you're not crying or you're not dealing with the issues. And like as men, we're taught to like, you know, man, I'm sad. I just don't feel right. Well, you better feel right and go do them dishes, or you better feel right and go do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. There was always like stereotype that if you felt a certain way, you wanted help, you weren't gonna get it. So I think a lot of men carry that with them. Um, but this guy talks a lot about like just freeing themselves emotionally, like, and I thought that it was wonderful. But of course, like anything in life, whenever men become vulnerable and you start to see stuff out there, like social media will make a man think that you being vulnerable or you sharing your feelings makes you less than. I think the strongest thing you can do is tell somebody you need something. Like, and that's hard. Like it is it's very hard to do. Um and I know that there's moments where you want to cry but you can't. And a lot of men, like, they'll tell you like it's hard to cry. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been taught not to, so you hold on to it. So when you tear up, it's like weird. Just like, what is this? Why are we doing this? I saw something that was really disturbing in this situation. So there's like every now and then, if I'm going through the reels on TikTok, there's like stuff on men's mental health, right? And there was like a video where this woman was talking about men being vulnerable. And I mean, she's giving men the business on how weak they look and all this other stuff. And there was a situation where I remember it looked like it was some type like a dating or rating thing or whatever. They asked the dude how he was doing, and he started crying because he was like, man, I just lost my best friend. And then they ranked him last, not because of looks or personality, but because he cried, and it was an ick, which that's a whole different topic. But how you expect certain men to, or how do you expect men in general to voice their opinions, to voice when they feel sad, to voice when they angry, when you get made fun of for it? Like, what type of person are you if you can't support that? Like, around my friends, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm hurt, I'm just gonna tell you. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is. Judge me if you want to. I don't care. I need to get that out. I can't carry that no more. We have to stop carrying things around that will hurt us, that we could release. A lot of us hold on to things as security because that was our comfort. We were comfortable with pain. We were comfortable with suppressing things. We were comfortable with not letting people know how we felt because that made us strong. When all in actuality, it really made us very weak. And now we don't know how to handle ourselves, and now we don't know how to deal with ourselves because we never fully dealt with what we were facing. And regardless of what you think about it, you could judge it all you want to, but the best way for you to know who you are is to heal from what hurts you. The best way for you to grow is to see those things that you went through and figure out, how do I overcome these things without having a grudge or without holding it in. And if I got to cry stuff out, look, man, I'm gonna cry it out. If I got to tell you that I'm stressed, I got to go to counseling and talk to somebody, I'm gonna do that, because there's no sense of playing strong when you feel weak. It does nothing for you. So it's like I want us, especially men, like especially black men too, because we, I mean, the numbers will show you, like, if you ain't talking and you got all this pain and you feel like ain't nobody there, chances are you willing to just take yourself out of this world. Sad to think about, man, because there's people that care about you. There's people that want to see you grow. There's people that actually do believe in you. But I get it. It's hard to feel that way when you feel isolated. And that's why, like, figuring out what your mental health is, like, it's so important, because it's very important to know where you are physically, mentally, emotionally. That's why one of the things I loved, I don't even know if it still come on, but the Pivot, it was like Channing, I can't think, it's like Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark, um, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But one of the questions they would ask, they're like, how you feeling? Like, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, where are you? Actually, I think it went to the pivot, but it started with I think it was I Am Athlete when it was Brandon Jennings and Chad Ocho, and they were talking about that. And I thought it was really cool because it was one of the first times where I saw um, Chad Ochocinco cry about his mom. His mom had like that at the time. His mom had passed away, and he was talking about like how strong she was and how she would tell him like not to cry and this and that third. But he was emotional. He lost somebody dear to him, and the fact that they gave him that outlet to be able to talk about it, I think, was more powerful than what most people think. And some of us feel like we can't talk to people. Some of us feel like nobody will listen. But there's resources. There's people out there that want to see you grow. I'm gonna try to do my best to link some things in the bio as far as like resources that you can use. Hotlines and numbers and things, because it is, I want you to stick around. Like, you belong here. My message is simple: you belong here on this earth. There was no accident that you were created. There was no coincidence as to, oh, oops, you just somehow magically got here. No, you're here with a purpose. You're here with a reason. And regardless of what the world is telling you or the cards that were dealt to you and making you feel like you're less than and you're in the darkest space, you are a light to somebody. And somebody is, they're wanting to hear what you have to say. They do. I really want you to know, like, your voice is valuable. You have something in you that is valuable to people on this earth, and the lives that you may impact and the paths that you cross. Like, you might be that voice. I don't want you to give up on that. I don't want you to suffer from that. I don't want you to feel like you have to be quiet, because you don't. Somebody needs to hear from you. Somebody needs to see your light. Somebody needs to see you shine. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You may think that your light is very dim, but to somebody else, it may be the brightest light that they've ever seen. So you got to shine. So find those resources, utilize that help. And maybe going back to it, like, just the thought process behind all of it just makes it, it's just, I don't know, it's bad because you grow up with all these things that you thought about, stuff you want to do, things you want to accomplish, and then you start thinking about all the bad things that you've gone through, and then you're thinking about all the people you're trying to help, but then you're thinking about your own self, and then there's self-doubt, and then there's anxieties, and then you start overthinking stuff, and then you start to worry, and then you're hesitant to take steps because you have all of these things happening at once. And sometimes your mind's moving with all these different thoughts, and you don't even know which one to believe. You'll end up believing all the lies you're telling yourself rather than seeking the truth that lies within you. And it takes away from where you're trying to go, who you're trying to be. That's why I think it's so important to analyze yourself mentally, because people do suffer, people do struggle, people do go down some dark paths and they stay in dark moments. So, if you got friends out there that you haven't talked to in a while, and it's on your heart, or you're thinking like, yo, I haven't heard from them in a while, like, reach out, call, text, drop by, something. They your real friends, they'll understand what you're doing. If you stop by, like, yo, I just needed to see your face, like, that's important. You know what I mean? It's, people need to know that they're valued and they're loved. That's why I try to tell you after end all my episodes that I believe in you. One, because I really do. Two, you really need to know that somebody does believe in you. And you might be thinking like, well, how do you know? Because I believe that everybody has a purpose and everybody has something that they can offer this world and offer people while they're here. With the time that you have on this earth, I think that everybody has something that's very valuable that they can give to somebody. We just live in a society that likes to overlook that, because those things turn out to be kind of weird sometimes. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. Especially for those who silently suffer and feel like the only way to overcome it is to not be here anymore. I have personally never had, well, I I work with someone who went through that and unfortunately is no longer here with us. And that was rough because they were going through some things. there was some illnesses and whatnot, and we all thought that things were great. And then once we were told, once we thought like everything was clear, um, turns out that it wasn't. And instead of feeling like a burden, they decided that they no longer needed to be here, and it impacted so many people. It hurt a lot of people, and there was a time back in life where you were told like that was so selfish and things like that. But then I started wondering, like where did they get to in that point that made them feel like they were not valuable? You know, and you look at stuff in the news. It's so crazy. Like people always argue about like celebrities and, oh, you got enough money, you shouldn't be mad, this, that, and the third. And then celebrities are sitting there upset or not happy with what they've accomplished. And then they decide they no longer want to be here. You know, you got people who are, they, like I said, you never know what people are facing. So you see them and they're smiling and they're so happy and they're talking to you and giving you all this insight, and then they're no longer here because they felt like they weren't enough. I don't want that to be you. If you are on the other side of this, listening or watching me, I want you to know that you are of value and that you matter and that you do belong here and that there is a purpose for your life and there is a reason why you are on this earth. And maybe right now you feel like everything that you see or everything that you're doing is just a very dark moment, but I don't want you to feel like there's no light out there. Because truth be told, whether you know it or not, you are the light. And I don't want you to walk around dimming yourself. It may take some time to come out of that. It might take longer than expected. You might lose friends in the process because they don't understand, but I pray that you don't quit on yourself. I pray that you don't give up on who you are, because I want you to really see that you are a very valuable person and that you do matter. It is important. A lot of people don't get told that. A lot of people don't hear that. A lot of people don't get the luxury. That's why I think it's important. Like, and my son and I, like, we have our moments, but he will never, ever have to doubt what I think of him, because I love that boy to death and I'll go to war for him. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure he's good. But I'm also going to be on him because I want him to be a responsible adult one day. I want him to be courteous of other people. I want him to know that not everybody is going to think in the same space that he thinks of. But I also don't want him to like undersell himself either. I want him to know that he's got qualities and skill sets that will be beneficial to this world and that he has a gift that God gave him that he can use. I want him to know that. I want my youngest son to do the same thing. Plus, I want my oldest son to be the example for my younger son. So that way he has a big brother to look up to. So it's like, in all things, that's why I'm grateful for where I'm at, because I do get to provide that value, and they actually provide value to me, because it lets me know that even in the midst of what we might go through, and there's dark moments of being a parent, I'm like, man, maybe I'm not doing good enough, or maybe I just suck at this father thing or whatever. And then you realize that they pick up on something you told them. I want you to know, like, your words mean something, your actions mean something, how you carry yourself, it means something. If you're struggling but you're still trying to make face, like, we see you. I want you to know that you're noticed. I don't want you to go through this life feeling like you're invisible, because you're not. And you do have a purpose. I want to keep telling you that, like, whoever is watching this and they feel like this is it, this is the end of the road, please, please keep going. Don't give up on yourself. Please don't. Please don't. Because you just might be at the breakthrough moment in life. It might be right there. You got to take one more step. And I know you're tired. I know. And I know that this has been so tough for you. I know it has been. But I cannot stress enough, I do not want you to give up on you. Somebody's going to need you. Someone is going to need you. There's a situation out there that you're going to be able to provide insight for. There is a spot in life. There's a place where you're destined to be. And although the road is tough right now, it's meant for you to be there. But please don't give up on yourself. And if you feel like you're at that edge, like, call somebody, reach out, call a hotline. Like, seriously, find somebody. Go to a neighbor's house, call a friend, do something, but just don't give up on you. Please don't. I can't stress that enough. Your mental health is important. Where you are in life right now is important. Every movement you make has a purpose. Don't sell yourself short thinking that you don't matter, or that you don't belong, or that you're not as important, or that what you're going through doesn't mean anything. No, it all serves a purpose. It does. There's a method. There's always something, and I really don't want you to give up on that. I don't. It's heavy, man, because there's so many people that maybe they don't have that voice. If you're one of those people that are out there that can be a voice to somebody, please do that. Goes back to what I said earlier. Like, you never know what people are facing. You don't. You really don't. So instead of judging someone, love someone. Instead of condemning someone, put your hand out there. Provide help. You can save a life. I don't say that lightly, because you really can. And you may never know. Like, they may never tell you, but you don't do it for the accolades. You don't do it for notoriety. You just do it because it's important. It's love. It says it in the word: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That's my task this week for you. My task this week is for you to spread love the best way you can. People are fighting battles every single day. People are struggling mentally. People are ready to quit. People are ready to just throw in the towel. They're so done. And you just might be the one person that helps them overcome that. So give them the love that they need. And if you're that person who is on the other side of this, who's ready to give up and throw everything in, I want you to know that there is love out there. I want you to know that there is a love that surpasses all understanding. And there's a love that can fulfill you unlike nothing else. And, from a spiritual standpoint, I say this to you: God's love is real. Even if you feel like, because as Christians, I think a lot of us have felt like, man, I feel like maybe God's not listening, or God's not seeing me. Oh, no, he sees you. He does. He does. And there's a purpose for you. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't a purpose for you. I truly want you to believe that. So spread love. Understand that people are fighting battles that we may not understand. But you can still show love in the best way. You're important. You matter. And whether you know it or not, we need you here. And even deeper, whether you believe it or not, I want you to know I believe in you. And I really mean that. Please do your best to go believe in yourself, all right? Spread love this week, folks. It's the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm Ed. We out.
These thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.